And here we are. I tell you, today is an exciting day, the Crotch of the Old Men podcast. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce this man, this young man over here to my left, Mr. Alfred Robinson. Al is a serial entrepreneur. He's been in business for well over 20 years. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder. As you know, guys know that when we come on the podcast, we try to bring not only great information, inspiration, but today you're going to learn a whole heck of a lot about business. So without any further ado, Al Robinson, take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as Gary said. I'm Al Robinson. My main focus over the last 20 years is my wife and I, we've owned a franchise concept called Edible Arrangements. We've had up to 4 different locations, over $20 million in sales in that time period. I also own a payroll service and other business services company. And what I like to say is that I help business owners keep the main thing the main thing. So outsource everything that is not part of your main goal, your main focus. Everything else can be outsourced. And that's kind of one of the areas that I focus on. And we can talk about a variety of things from franchising to starting a business and getting things off the ground. So hopefully we're going to have a great conversation and it'll help your audience.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, welcome to the show, Al. I'm excited to hear what you've got to say. I think over these 100 episodes, we've had all types of businesses, but I think you're the first franchise owner we've had on. So I'm sure our listening audience is very curious as far as kind of what took you in that direction to get you started 20 years. You said 20 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
So what started you in that direction?
So what started us in that direction was my wife saw it on Food Network. So it was a concept that was on the Food Network. Her and her girlfriend were looking at it and said, hey, let's order one of those. And it was not available in the state of Michigan at the time. And so they decided to take a look at it and went out to Connecticut and did the discovery day. And then her friend was not approved by the franchisor. And but my wife really, really, really wanted to do it. And so I said, hey, no point in here sitting here and thinking about it. Just go ahead and do it. It's only money. And if it fails, we can go out and make more money. And so a lot of times people get offended when I say it like that it's only money. But to a certain degree, we all can make more money, so we should take more risk. We should take more chances. So if you lose some money here and there, so be it. When you think about edible arrangements, what are we selling? We're selling fruit on a stick, right? But that fruit on a stick carries a lot of emotions to it with it. It's I'm sorry, my condolences, happy birthday. So it's much more than a fruit on a stick. It is that emotion, that thing that someone wants to say to someone else that they may not be able to put in words themselves. So that's the whole concept that I see behind edible. That it's that feeling, that emotion that's being conveyed.
That's good.
Absolutely.
No, I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
George.
I mean, that's one of the things that you learn in business. Business 101 is first satisfying a need. So it sounds like you definitely did that. And franchises have always been interesting to me. When you go back, gee, I hate to do that, but like 30 to 40 years, that's kind of what myself and my wife looked at. Eventually getting a franchise out in California. So just from your perspective, talk to our audience a little bit about the benefits of a franchise as opposed to, starting an individual business where you're more self-dependent on, just your business and your word of mouth and getting yourself started.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I always say is that you buy a franchise because you can follow instructions. If you're not willing and able to follow instructions and do it diligently, then you need to go out and start your own business. You need to go out and do your own thing. When you buy a franchise, you're buying a system, a proven system. So they already know that if you think of a Jimmy John's or a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever your favorite franchise concept is, you know exactly what it's going to look like when you walk in. You know exactly what it's going to smell like, taste like. Everything that you're going to get when you go into a franchise. When you start your own business, Uh, that's up to you. You can do flowers one day, you can do something else the next day. You can deviate all over the place. In a franchise, you can't. And so, and that's one of the risks of being an independent owner is that, especially let's say restaurants, using that as an example, is consistency. You go to a restaurant one day and it has the best food you've ever had, and then you go back a week later and the food's totally different. So you don't know if the chef changed, you don't know what changed, but the food's not as good as it was that first time. And then you go back a third time, hoping it gets back to that first time, and it never does. And that restaurant doesn't make it over the long haul, right? So a franchise gives you a system that says, here's where you buy your ingredients, here's how you put it together, and you do this every time, right? So if you think of a McDonald's, I saw this article a week ago, you got $1 billion company being run by a bunch of 17-year-olds, right? So when you go in those stores, you may have one 30-year-old in there, but everybody else is 16, 17, 18, because they've got the systems down. This is how you make the fries. This is how you do the burgers. This is how you do that. So a franchise is you got to be willing to follow the instructions and trust that the people in charge have it totally under control. Whereas if you're your own independent person, you're doing it out of your heart, out of what you know, and then you're winging it until you figure it out. So that's the biggest difference.
In other words, you can't go in and change the golden arches purple, huh?
You can't change the golden arches, or add pork rinds to the menu or something like that. You can't do that. So that's what you bought, though. You bought a system, and you pay a fee for that system because they're doing all the thinking for you. They're coming up with all the new things. That's why McDonald's every couple of years brings back the McRib. People like it, I guess, right? And so they're constantly coming up with new ideas and new concepts to get people to come in the door, new offers, new coupons, and things like that. So a franchise theoretically should make your life a lot easier, but you're paying higher fees. You may pay 10 to 15% of what you earn in fees back to the franchisor. So there is a price for that system.
Interesting. So now, as the CEO, Al, of Waymakers, and I like the business title, Waymaker Solution. First of all, I want to know, how did you come up with that name?
So I came up with it before the song. I always tell people that, they think I got it from the song. But, it's because with God, everything's possible. There's nothing that you can't do or you can't strive for and succeed at. So with God on your side, there's always a way. So that was kind of the concept of it. And, with my logo, if you look at the logo, it's like a puzzle piece. So there's a maze inside, so, there's always a way out. There's always a way of escape, a way to success. So that was the concept behind Waymakers. It's just a reminder to me that, I can get there and I can help other people get there as well.
Amen. Amen. All right. So now, successful franchise owner, businessman, but then you also have some other entities, if you will, and they're all kind of shrouded around obviously business and helping other businesses. Can you share some of those adventures with us?
Sure. One of the ones that I'm most excited about is called 30 to Give. And what that is, what we created is me and some partners, we created a mentoring app. So now we call it an engagement app. But, probably like you guys, you've mentored people over the years, you've coached people over the years. And the biggest hurdle sometimes is to be able to physically get together or have a meeting and things like that. So what we've done is we created an app where I can coach someone for 30 days via an app, via text messaging. And so I can answer whatever questions they have, because I have no problem giving people the information, but sometimes I don't have the time physically to do a Zoom or to show up for a lunch or things like that. But I can coach someone anywhere around the world for 30 days. At the end of those 30 days, the whole chat's deleted. And what we decided to do was the secret sauce to this was based on anonymity, right? So I can coach someone, and I don't know what you look like. So we all, I like your name, Crotchety Old Men, but on the app, I don't know that you're old, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know that you're black. I don't know that you're fat, that you're skinny, that you're hot, that you're not, but you have information that I need, and you're willing to share that with me via the app. So that's why we're able to coach some kids in Zambia or around the world professionals join to mentor, and then the kids or young people join, because we all can be mentees as well. We're always looking to learn something new. If someone has that information, they can share it via our app. And so we worked with a local university here, and they connected their alumni with their seniors to try to get them help prepare them for entering the professional world. So the alumni are more than willing to help, but they don't want kids asking them for jobs. They don't want kids calling them all the time and things like that. So they love the anonymity part. And then the kids loved it in the sense that they could ask whatever questions they have, and no one would think they're stupid or whatever. Because a lot of kids come from different backgrounds. So, you got kids trying to ask for investment advice, or, how do I get this job, or how do I get that? So the app facilitates a lot of that. So that's one of our passions right now, is just to grow that. And, we got a couple kids in Africa that are going to try to sell the apps to the universities over there. And so that's fun, but it's the whole coaching and mentoring and making it available, but putting a deadline on it, so 30 days, I'll give you whatever you want to know for 30 days via text messaging inside this app. And it's all encrypted, so no one can read your communications. And then after 30 days, it's all deleted. So we see a lot of opportunities with nonprofits and universities in order to reach out to their workforce or to their clients. We have a local place here in town that works with kids who've tried to harm themselves, right? And so when I say harm, they try to kill themselves, try to kill others, or whatever. And so this doctor, he wants to prove the efficacy of his program by saying, all right, these kids no longer go back into the medical community, or they don't go into the criminal justice system. So he wants to prove that they stay out of trouble by using our app to communicate with them after the fact, right? So, so you have a red button, they can push a button if they're feeling really bad. We've got like smiley faces, or the faces that says, how are you feeling? So if someone's got a frown, then they can the counselor can reach out to them and see what's going on. So there's a lot of places that this thing can be used, and we're still just scraping the surface of what it can be, so that's a cool journey, so, I don't use the word tech founder because I don't know if I found anything yet, but, we're really trying to establish what this thing can be. And then we're really excited about where it's going.
You cross a lot of borders by introducing that app. It brings a couple of different things to mind. I'm trying to figure out which question I want to ask first. So, because I know during COVID, there were a lot of apps from counseling that had to go to online because of all the mental health issues out there. So it sounds like somewhat of a spinoff in that. But then when you say that, you can pretty much ask anything that you want, it brings to mind AI and some applications for AI. So are you using AI in any of this application?
We just added AI because we have two platforms. Good question, actually. So we have two platforms. We have a B2C, which is like anybody can sign up, and anybody can be a mentor, anybody can be a mentee. And the only issue we had there was if a student signed up with an interest in an area that there's no mentors for, they would just sit and wait. Or the mentor is just sitting and waiting for for a young person to pick them to be their mentor. So we put AI in there to bridge that gap for the students or the mentee, so they can have someone to talk to, or something to talk to, I guess, until they connect to a live person. So we've added AI for that part of it. Our preference is that you're talking to a live individual on the other side. One of the questions that we get asked quite a bit is the mentor vetted? And we don't vet the mentors. It's up to the mentee to say, all right, here's the questions I ask, and then you go back and verify if the information you were given is valid or not, right? Or is it worth following? Because once again, it's just someone sharing with you their experiences, their knowledge, and you take that with a grain of salt, and you learn, use what you can, and discard the rest. So it's a unique journey. Now on the B2B side, what we've done is, because that's a closed system where the organization signs up, they pick the mentors and they pick the mentees, and then they connect them, right? So that's a much more structured and safe environment where an AI is not required as much. So we have it set up two ways, because part of where society's going is because we're old, I guess. We were like, hey, I still like that interaction with the person. Right. I want to talk to someone real. I want to hear their stories. I want to hear how they got there, how they decided something. And I think young people are looking for that as well. And AI can't do that. There's a lack of physicalness, seeing someone smile at you, see someone nod their head that they understand you. I think our app can help facilitate that to a certain degree, that you're talking to a live person, and you get that feedback. And it's asynchronous. So I don't have, as a mentor, I don't have to be online to talk to someone. They can ask their questions, and when I have a moment, I respond back and give them the answer. Because a lot of times the people I'm talking with, the information I have for them, I know that off the top of my head. But to them, it's life-changing, right? You guys probably have information in your head and your heart that you're just waiting for somebody to ask you the question. You know what I mean? And it'll send you off on a 20-minute, diatribe, but it could change someone's life because, there's no one's ever told them that. No one's ever shared that with them, and so that's how we view the app, is that, we all have information. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day. That's leaving the workforce. So who's going to be teaching these young folks how to act, how to dress, how to ask questions, how to control their emotions, not take everything as a slight, you know what I mean? So, because what you see a lot of times is younger people view things, they're a lot more sensitive than we were back in the day. So it's a different world, because I see that with my employees. What they view as respect is totally different than what I view as respect. So
yeah, we see it every day in dealing with youth and younger people and things of that nature. But George, back to your next question.
Yeah, I mean, here again, it's real fascinating. I mean, we started talking about franchising, and now we've evolved kind of to a more of a, what I'm going to consider a self-help type business. But what brings to mind, and I'm thinking our audience would, maybe ask this question, is scalability, because it's all about, for you is making money. So now you've gone from what we consider a cookie cutter approach to a business where, your revenues are pretty much, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but they're basically charted, because of the fact that, if I sell this, if I do this, if I follow the approach, this is how much money I'm going to make. And you've been doing that for 20 years. Now you're branching off into something that's kind of more dealing with individuals and kind of figuring it out for yourself as far as, how the revenue is going to flow. So how do you scale a business like that? Because I'm sure a lot of our audience is here, and we talk about this all the time. Most young folks, they don't want to work for somebody. They want to start their own business, and so let's talk a little bit about the scalability. How do you do that? How do you change your mindset from coming from a cookie cutter approach type business to something that's more abstract?
Right. So if I go back to the beginning of the franchise, we started off with 1, then we went to 3, then we went to 4. So a lot of it's comfort level, right? We grew up, my father had a high school education, 8th grade education. My mom had a high school education. So I was always trained to be safe. Don't take risk. Just get a good job. All those types of things. So when we got into it, we just bought 1. Let's see if it'll work. Let's make sure. Versus, in hindsight, I should have bought 4 or 5, locked down a whole market, right? And I could have controlled the entire Detroit market. But because I was going off a bad paradigm, right, I didn't do that, right? So, but that's a lesson learned, right? So when you buy a franchise, to me, a franchise is a good investment as long as you fully read the disclosure document and you know what you're signing up for, right? If you really love that concept, you really love what they're offering and what they're doing, but do your due diligence. Don't just buy one, but do your due diligence and say, that's something I really love and I think I can make money at. And after you reach a certain point, and just view it as an investment, right? I always look at it, buying a franchise, do I have to physically be there? because I don't want to physically be there. I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for an investment. I got a staff, I got a manager, and they're running my stores for me. And that's predominantly how we ran our stores for 20 years, is that we would come in on busy times and we would come in to make sure things look right and are running right, but we're not there every day. So you got to think about, sometimes people say with the franchise, you're buying a job. In some cases you are, but maybe you're buying $100,000 a year job, or maybe it's an $80,000 a year job with all the tax write-offs, right? So even if you make 80, but you can write off a whole bunch of stuff, you're way ahead of the game than just being an employee. And so, so don't be arrogant in your search. If you think, oh, well, these guys are only making 75 grand or walking home with 75 grand or 80 grand or whatever the number might be, that's still a nice living, especially with the tax write-offs, right? And you're in control of your day. No one can tell you when to come, when to go, and those types of things. But along that journey, understand that's a 20-year learning there, right? It didn't happen overnight. But you make mistakes, you regret, in hindsight, we should have sold our stores 5-6 years ago, right? But we're like, oh, no, it's going pretty good. And then now we're like, hey, it's time to go. We've reached our capacity. But in transitioning to this app, it's a labor of love to a certain degree. We are spending money. We've probably spent over $100 grand total so far into the app. But we think we're going to be able to help a lot of people. We think we're going to be able to change lives with someone getting coached by someone, and it just changes the whole trajectory of where they're going, where they're headed. And so we're learning along the way, because we think, oh, wow, this is great, because Alcoholics Anonymous is all about anonymity or Overeaters Anonymous. I didn't know there were so many anonymous groups out there, right? Associations. So we feel we would be a good fit into those marketplaces. We've talked to a psychiatrist, and he's thinking about, hey, I could offer this to my clients who can't afford my face-to-face services, right? So what's a person going to do if they can't afford to see a doctor, and at $150 an hour or $200 an hour? He can offer the app to his clients and they just pay him $30 a month or whatever it costs that he picks. AI seems to be trying to fill that niche as well. I see, like Gary and I were talking about the commercial where you see people talking to AI like it's a real person. So AI may have a role in there. I've seen an ad where people are having AI boyfriends and AI girlfriends that feel that emotional need or niche for them. I don't see how that works, but it apparently does, right? So, but we think there's an opportunity for true coaching, true mentoring, where people actually want to still talk to folks and grow that way. And so we'll see. We're still working it out. We're still figuring it out. Like I said, we work with the university. We think there's a niche for nonprofits, because there's always going to be people that need someone to talk to. And text messaging, I always used to joke of, not a joke because it's a fact, like if I call my kids, they very rarely answer the phone. But if I text them, I get an immediate response, right? Yeah. So this generation doesn't like talking on the phone. So that's why it's a text-based app, is that they don't like the verbal conflict or the tones or whatever their issue is with answering the phone. Like my kids would say, why do you leave a voicemail? Because I had something to say. I didn't call you just to call you, right? I had something to say. So, they don't listen to the voicemails. And I found that with many, many parents that have the same experience. Kids don't talk on the phone. They don't like it. And I don't know. I don't understand it, but I will meet them where they are, and that's the goal of the app, to meet them where they are. And if they want to text, then we'll have a text conversation. And so that's the genesis of that. So we're still figuring it out. We haven't made it, made a couple $1,000s one year, but, it hasn't covered our costs of what we put into it. But we'll see where it goes, and we're excited about it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good.
So
are you at liberty to, did you want to talk to our audience as far as if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to use the app? Did you want to give any information?
Sure, appreciate that. So the app is called 30 to Give, the word 30,
the number 2, and the word give. It's live. The B2C version is live on Apple and Google, the Play Store. So you can download that and sign up as either a mentor or a mentee. You can be both because there's times in life where we are both. And you can put your specialty in. And then as a mentor, you kind of have to wait till a mentee selects you. But as a mentee, you can just go in and find someone that comes close to what you're looking for and click that person, and that person will mentor you for 30 days. And then on the B2C side, if you want to, B2B side, if you want to use it for your business, go to our website, 30togive.com, the word 30, the number 2, the word give, request some information, and we'll reach out and we'll get your company set up on the B2B side. So we're looking to add more companies, more nonprofits to what we do, and so that will help us further understand where we fit in the marketplace. So I appreciate that.
Is there a cost for both the mentee and then some type of compensation for the mentor?
So on the B2C side, there's no cost to the mentee, and the mentor does it out of the goodness of their heart.
Okay.
Right. So that's how we've set that up. On the B2B side, the company decides how they want to set that up. We do charge the company a fee just for the storage and the interfaces and everything else. But that's usually very minimal. And then they decide how they want to use it with their internal staff and their mentors or alumni or whatever group they're going to use. But on the B2C side, that's a gift, I guess, for lack of a better word. We put it out there so people can connect. So the mentor is, you just decide you want to be a mentor. It's just text messaging. You know what I mean? So it's like but one thing that
That's
we
pretty
did
cool.
have, we had a professional coach who's going to sign up potentially to coach all their clients via the app, right? So they buy the B2B, and instead of having some of these other platforms, they can use the app to communicate with their people and have group discussions. So there's a lot of opportunities, and we'll see which ones work.
That's great. I mean, I'm thinking about all the people on all the other continents that we talked about earlier. When I say to all my brothers and sisters in Africa and Asia and et cetera, it's because we do have listeners in those countries. And when you spoke about Zambia and everything from the 30 to give as far as mentees and the connections that can happen like that, your organization 30 to give can bless a lot of people globally. And I think we were saying in a conversation earlier today in terms of that, we can change the world. And that app alone, in addition to some other things that you're doing here, Al, it has that potential to change the world because we are world changers and with ideas. And I'm so glad that we have you on today because I think it's very timely in that as we go into the holiday season, that people can, they know now that 30 to give exists, more people, I should say, and to utilize it. And it's very nominal cost. It's like free 99 basically. Okay. So I am just so glad that you came on and expounded on it even more. So I know you talked to me about it before you shared it with our group locally. But now I'm going to have to step my game up and become a mentor.
And I would say this, as Americans, we don't realize how much information we have and what we know. For instance, in Zambia, the average annual salary is $2,500, right? So, and that's for a professional, maybe up to $3,000, $3,500. So we don't understand what that means, and so the knowledge that we have that we're walking around with and not even utilizing is life changing to someone else. So if you could be a mentor and put yourself out there and just know, you may not get a hit for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, until a kid finds you or someone finds your expertise, because you can talk about whatever you want. You put your expertise out there that you're willing to share, and then someone who's interested in that will reach out to you. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get better at, is trying to make sure people get connected quicker. But we haven't figured that magic bullet out yet. But we're working on that. But yeah, if you can be a mentor and help, just be available, Doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get notified when someone picks you, and then you guys can just start a conversation.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Some great stuff, and it's very, like Smitty was saying, it's very timely because I mean it's an old phrase, but we're in the information age, and
Mm-hmm.
as even in corporate America, as a lot of executives wind down their tenure at certain companies, they're normally paid for what they know and not necessarily what they can physically do. So once
Mm-hmm.
you do pass it on and you retire, you've got all this knowledge, and it benefits other people if you can share that knowledge. And in fact,
Right.
that's one of the pillars behind the Crotchety Old Man podcast. And myself, Gary, and PC, we decided, we've been around, a little while. We've turned a couple corners, so
Mm-hmm.
it only benefits, not only us but our audience to share some of this information we have, and to bring people in that such as yourself that can share information that you have. It's all about information and sharing information. It's, at the end of the day, it's free, but like I
Yeah,
said,
and
if we
we
don't share it, it just kind of rots away inside our head. So you're definitely doing a service, and
yeah.
definitely glad to have you on today, and wishing you much success going forward.
Yeah, one thing
Yeah,
I would like to add to that is a lot of people, seniors, are suffering from social isolation, right? So they're in their homes, they're watching TV all day, uh, and it's driving them crazy, for lack of a better word. And so, in order to keep that mind fresh and keep that knowledge usable, we think there's a way for them to engage with people, and hopefully through our app as well, and help younger people. Help people because they have knowledge. I don't care if it's a
Mhm.
plumber, I don't care whatever it might be. Excuse me, whatever it might be, they have knowledge that someone out there in the world needs, and they can share that on the app. And so we're working with, trying to figure out how we can get more older people who are retired sharing their knowledge. And so that's one of the tools there. But social isolation is a really, really big deal for older people. They're just sitting in their house and they're not doing much.
Talking to the TV, you know.
Well, I'm going. Well, well, you got two of the three crotchety old men. We're not sitting around doing nothing, but we definitely want to share some information. So you may want to sign us up, as some of those mentees and mentors, and see if we can help out also. But man, this has been a great show, great information. Glad you came on today. Smitty, what you got to end this with today?
Well, I think I'm going to take this quote from Viktor Frankl. And he says that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to changing ourselves.
Hmm.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds
All
like
right?
the man in the mirror, right?
That's right. Hey, if you don't like the way things are seen, look, then change the way you look at them, and
There
they
you
will change.
go. Change yourself first. There you go. There
That's
you go.
right. Change
And as
yourself
we
first.
always say on the crotchety old man, if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know.
Hmm.
Al, it's been a
Take
pleasure
care.
and
You
pleasure
guys
to
have a
have you
great
on
day.
today. Take care. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.